Hey, family tech man, how's your spirit? Talk to me. Tell me something good. We got a next part from last night. What people don't tell you about it when you hold on one second. What nobody tells you about living healed. Give you a little time to come in. Okay, let's rock. Welcome back to another episode. Last night we talked about the first hard trust after you start healing. Tonight is part two. What nobody tells you along about living healed. We're going deeper into a part of healing most people never talk about: the identity void of loneliness, the discipline it takes to stay healed, the responsibility that comes with your power, and the quiet fear that hits when there's nothing left to fix. Let's get into it. Hold up. Okay. Hold up. Yeah, that was crazy. Let me see right here. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. Okay. Can y'all hear me out there? All right. Here we go. The identity void. And this is part two of what nobody tells you about living healed. The identity void. Who you are who you are when pain is no longer your personality. This is when your trauma stops being your whole personality. Oh, hold up. This is when your trauma stops being your whole personality and you're left wondering who you actually were. These are things that you know people who heal contemplate. you know, who was I? This that wasn't me. This was me now. So who was I when I was acting whatever? And these are part of the things that help you to heal. Who are you when you're no longer the strong one who carries everyone? Because most people with strength, they take care, everyone. What do you talk about when your trauma story is no longer your main conversation? These are things you must ask yourself, because now you have to start shaping and molding the new you. How do you connect with people when you're no longer bonding over pain? You have to change how you interact now. What happens when you lose the identity you built around surviving? Well, you may lose that identity, but the survival part will always be there because that's the first rule of nature: self preservation. So, uh, certain things you're going to still have, but you have to change. And who you are when there's no more drama to hide behind. This is the new you, and you got to ask yourself these things while you're growing, while you're doing and healing and being better and striving to be the best you can be. And the only way you're going to do that is you have to go through your adversities. Your adversities shape and mold you to who God wants you to be when you pay attention. If you ever notice the direction your adversities take you, it takes you to make you stronger for what you're into or what God has for you. Just think about it. The loneliness is being different. Healing changes your energy, and many people in your life won't be able to stay close to the new you. A lot of people are not going to understand the new you for the simple fact that maybe you was a person that never said no. The new you is going to make boundaries, and the people who respect the boundaries, the people you deal with. The people who don't respect your boundaries, you let out your life. And the sad part about it is mostly family. It is what it is. Or the people who are closest to you, who you think are your friends. But these are the things that you have to start to deal with once you're healed. Why do some friends slowly disappear once you stop matching their chaos? See, because now that you're not matching their chaos, it's like, oh, you're boring, or you got soft, or you changed. Yeah, that's what it's about. Through adversity comes change. Once you go through adversities and you start looking at life for what it is and people for who they are, and you don't judge and you don't point fingers, and you understand that that's just where life is right now, and this is what people are, and it is what it is. You know, change is nothing but evolution if you're doing it to the positive. How do you handle family members who prefer the old broken version of you? You just don't deal with them, I guess. Because I can't really answer that because all my family is gone. So I can't really answer that one. But I guess uh, you just have to keep doing what you have to do and let them know, like, look, this is who I am, and I'm not going to change who I am. It's kind of like, I'll give you an example. Like when I came home from prison, I was Muslim. I didn't eat pork no more. So my mother was like, "Man, I raised you on pork. Now you talk about you don't eat no pork. You're a Muslim or whatever." But you have to stick to your plan. But as you know, once I made the boundaries, she know not to cook pork for me no more. It's just how it is. When you make change, it's about people respecting your boundaries. You know, and once they respect your boundaries, uh, that's it's going to be a beautiful thing. The ones who don't, got to keep pushing. Uh, what do you do when your peace? What do you do when people get uncomfortable with your peace and boundaries? I mean, I guess that's a them problem, not a me problem. For the simple fact that it doesn't matter how they feel, because when you're on the road to change, it's not about people. It's definitely not about people. It's about you doing the right thing in your life. When you start worrying about what people say, feel, and think, like I tell you, $3.50 in your pocket, and what somebody says, feels, and thinks, which one to get you on the train, on the bus? That $3.50. So you have to stick to your plan. When you feel that this is how you want to be, You got to stick to it, and when your peace is disrupted or your boundaries, like I said, or overstepped, you know what to do. Why does being the healthiest person in the room sometimes feel lonely? Because you can see the real from the fake. And see, when you healed, you no longer have that uh lying and faking in you. When you healed, it's all about truth, because you can't get to God with lies. Only way you can get to God is through truth. And this is one of the things I tell you about this program, this platform. You have to be 100% true with yourself, not with me, not with no one else. Only what's real in your life, and you have to stick with that. But in order for you to change, you got to make sacrifices. What sacrifices, things are not the way they always are. You know, why does being the healthiest person in the room sometimes feel lonely? Because people are not going to be right. How do you deal with the guilt of outgrowing relationships? You just have to be able to departmentalize, these relationships, these feelings, because in life, nothing is going to go always like you think it's going to go. Nothing good lasts forever, nothing bad lasts forever. But the whole thing is about the one who endures, the strong one who endures through the pain and makes it to the other side. The blessing and the feeling to make it through these things is out of this world. You just have to stick to the plan. Number three, the discipline of maintenance. Healing is a one healing isn't a one-time thing. It requires daily effort to stay where you are. And especially now in the world, how the world is today, it's even harder to stay healed because it's whenever you're in a good space or you're healing or you at peace, the devil's gonna come. The devil is real. Anytime you're finna break through it and do something great, the devil shows up. He doesn't want you. And this is where being a thinker and not overreacting to things helps, because when you're a thinker, you're going to evaluate the situation and you're going to move accordingly. You know, so the whole thing is this right here: to stay healed is a daily process. This is why I do this program. It's not only to help you guys, it's to help me too. Like I said, I can't do this alone. I only can do this with you guys' help. Because one story is not going to tell a whole story. It takes millions of stories to make a narrative. And this is why I tell you guys: like, share, subscribe, do whatever you have to do, you know. And I guarantee you, if you embrace this journey, your life is going to change. Like I always tell you guys, this is the name of the platform, this is the name of the book, Through Adversity Come Change, by myself. It's on Amazon. Plus you have the workbook. It's on Amazon too, and the Kindle. So it's no excuse why you can't heal. How do you keep choosing peace when chaos still feels more familiar? You have to stay focused. You have to stay focused no matter what. And this is where a lot of us fall short. We don't stay focused. We get sidetracked and get thrown off of what we are doing. You got to stay focused. You got to keep putting one foot in front of the other. You can't let nothing distract you when you're on the road of change. Because, like I said, the devil is real and he's the master of the whisper. He can't touch you, but he can whisper to you. What daily practices actually protect your process long term. Like, what do to stay healed? You have to keep to yourself, mind your business, always evaluate your life, be able to look yourself in the mirror and and love the person that you see and do what you know that's right. See, once you get to a certain age, you know what's right and what's wrong. So you stick to what's right and everything else will work its way out. God's plan is the best plan, and he's left many examples of how to be. So you just have to do the right thing. How do you catch yourself the moment you start slipping into old patterns? See, what a lot of people don't understand, right? Before you slip into an old pattern, it's a thought. It's a thought. And when that thought comes to you and you're healed, you know not to go down that road because you know what's down that road. You know what's on the other side of that door. But if you do slip, all you do is get back up. Like I said, if you fall down 9 times, get up 10. It's human nature. We're gonna make mistakes because this is life. But if you make a mistake, get up, dust yourself off, and get back on the right track. That's it. Why does staying healed sometimes take more discipline than getting healed? Because once you healed, you see life for what it really is, and you see people for who they are. And it's hard for you to fake once you're healed. And when you see it, you have to be able to sidestep it. Like one thing I say, like if I don't want to be around a person, I don't tell them to get away from me. I get away from them. It's easier and it's less headache. And these are things that we have to learn. Let the pride, the ego go. Like I tell you, man, God says not an Adam's way to pride get into the paradise. And what hides in pride? Ego. And what is ego? Ego is easing God out. And then all the jealousy, envy, hate, all no, I don't want none of that in my heart. That's what I said. I forgive everyone, and I forgive me, and I pray God forgive me, and I pray people forgive me, and that's it. And just keep moving. I have a mission, and inshallah, if it is God will, I will accomplish my mission. That's been in plan for over 10 years. And I thank God. He didn't just have me uh, doing nothing. He gave me something, and hopefully I'll be able to give it to the world like I'm giving this right here. It's one of the things he gave me. TACC, through adversity come change. 5 principles, 3 articles, and one here, helping everyone accept, achieve, and appreciate love. Took me 6 years to put this. Him waking me up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, plus 20 something apps, devices, and business concepts. You know, so when you're changing, you do things that keep you here. Like me coming on here every day is to help me. Even though it might help someone else, but it's to help me, to keep me grounded, keep me on the right track, because I know I was an idiot, and I could fall off the deep end at any time, but no longer because I don't live that way. Like I said, wrong don't feel right to me no more. So I don't do it. How do you stay consistent when the initial motivation fades? See, one thing about life, when you're going through a lot of things in life, the motivation ain't gonna never fade because you can always see. It's just like a person working a job. You always know you're one paycheck away from being homeless. When you heal, you know, you stay focused. You know that if you go back, what comes along with that? So you keep yourself motivated. It's something that just happens, when you're going through the healing process. And when you find peace, you definitely do it. The responsibility of power. When you're truly healed, you can't hide anymore. Your presence now carries real weight. And that's the truth because once you heal and start becoming responsible, after a while, people will forget about the things you did in the past, because they're going to look to you to be responsible like you've been being. So, like, excuse me, like I said, nothing lasts forever. And your person can, dislike you for what you may have done in your life. But once you've changed long enough, their hearts will get softened. Just life. How do you handle people suddenly looking up to you for guidance once you heal? You know, and these are serious uh things that we must contemplate. You know, and this is why I say sometimes we sabotage our greatness because we're afraid of being successful. It happens. When does it feel like to no longer be able to play small, like play yourself down, because of things you went through and everything? It's not you're not going to be able to do that when you're healed. Now, you may humble yourself more, but you're not going to play yourself down because once you heal, you learn to love yourself, and when you love yourself, you're not going to let yourself go through but so much. Like I said, everything starts and ends with you. How do you speak with authority after years of shrinking yourself? I don't know. I couldn't tell you that one. I never done that one. What happens when your calm energy starts changing the rooms you walk into? Well, I mean, you can look at that as a positive and a negative. When it changes and people get like nervous when you're around, that's something. But when you change the energy to a beautiful thing, that's healing. And when you heal, you kind of bring that energy with you. How do you carry the responsibility of being emotionally regulated? Um, I don't know. I don't. I mean, y'all answer that one for me. I really don't understand. I understand, but I don't. Give me some feedback, y'all. In the quiet terror of having nothing left to fix, and a lot of people be afraid of that. When you heal and at peace, you'd be afraid that there's nothing else that like. But it's going to always be more things for you to fix. Trust me. Life is not easy, and it's from the beginning to the end, from the cradle to the grave. What do you do with yourself when there's no more trauma to process? You sit in peace. After a while, it takes time, but you sit in peace and you evaluate life around you at all times. Why does real peace sometimes feel empty or boring at first? Because it's something you're not used to. You're used to the excitement. You're used to, like I give you the example, a person from New York City moving down south. It's slow to him. He's not used to it. It's just what it is. It's just life. How do you enjoy life when you're no longer in survival mode? It takes time, but once you get into the mode, you're gonna be just fine. And how do you build a meaningful life when you're no longer working on yourself? See, that's one thing you're gonna always do. You're gonna always work on yourself. Once you heal, every chance you get uh to turn things around in your life, like I tell you, once you on that road of healing, bad don't feel good no more. So you're gonna continue to work on yourself for the rest of your life. Trust and believe that. That's our show for tonight. Healing isn't just about getting better. It's about learning how to live in a completely different way. Some of this stuff is uncomfortable, but it's real. If you're on this journey, just know you're not alone feeling these things. Thank you for rocking with me. If this hits you, share it with someone who needs it. Part three will be coming tomorrow. Y'all have a blessed night. Tac man out. Pimpin', call me. I want to do the investment thing. Give me a call, Pimpin'. All right, love you, man. Stay strong. It's gonna be all right. You got 3 days to grieve. All right. Tomorrow's your last day. So come on and snap out of it. All right, holla at me. Peace. Y'all have a blessed night. Tac man out.